Namaskar, all of you. Welcome to this session. So, we came to a point where Vyasa had taken to discussion the moksham. He mentions adarshana bhavat eva bandha bhavaha sa moksha iti. Adarshana bhavat. Darshanam means viveka khyati, sattva purushanata khyati, final knowledge, emancipating knowledge, with which we are familiar in our Moksha Shastra and Adhyatma Shastra. And Vyasa here says that what is moksha? Adarshana bhavat. When the adarshanam is gone, in simple terms, it is avidya. Avidya bhavat bandha bhavaha. The bandha is gone. Sa moksha iti. That itself is moksha. So, with little deeper insight, we realize that Vyasa is taking care to postulate this moksha, which is one of the four purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And the Adhyatmic seeker has this idea that we have been under bandha for time without beginning, from anali kalam. And at some point in time, with what is called as moksha sadhana, the moksham would come about, liberation would come about. So if liberation is something or moksha is something that which comes about, and when it is effect of something, such as paramajnana, sarvottam jnana, or the antima jnanam, the ultimate knowledge. So it becomes an effect. Now if it becomes effect, that is untenable for philosophers. Because in that case, that liberation also would become impermanent, being effect. Because all effects are impermanent. No effect is ever permanent. And therefore it becomes untenable. The common man's belief that moksha comes about, it is something that is going to come, or that is going to be achieved or attained. That means it is attained by some causation. And if it is going to come about by some causation, it is going to be effect. And if it is going to be effect, it is going to be impermanent. So that is why it is untenable. So Vyasa takes care to postulate by saying adarshana bhavat eva bandha bhavaha. The bandham is going to end. And there is nothing like moksham that is going to come about. So therefore he takes care to say that the bandham is going to end, the bondage is going to be ending. Now we know that in this world all the things have an end. So he is going to mention what is going to end and not what is going to come. So the bandham is going to end, and therefore there is no difficulty in taking this position that the bondage is going to end. Because bondage is after all effect of something. And it is effect of what? Adarshanam. It is effect of what? Avidya. It is effect of what? Vasana. It is effect of what? Karma. So this can be understood. So he mentions clearly here that the Bandha Bhava is something that can come about. And then we don't have to have any problems there. Because Bandha Bhava eva moksha. Absence of bondage itself is moksha. The moksha is not something that is going to come, but moksha is something that is it by itself end of something that is existing. And that, what is that existing? It is only Bandham. So Bandham which is existing will go away. It is not that all that is existing will go away, but the Bandham only that is existing will go away. And therefore that is more precise articulation of the reality which is called moksham. So this is a moksha mimamsa. He takes care and he gives understanding to a common man or a sadhaka here that moksha is not something that is going to come about, but moksha is going to end something, and that something is bandham. Bandha bhavaha eva moksha iti is what he is stating. So end of something can be mentioned. So that's why he takes care to tell us moksha is not something that is going to come, but the moksha is something that of the nature of bandha is going to go away. So this is the precise position that he wants to state, and he states it, which is so important for Nitya-Siddhata of moksham. And that means the moksha is already existing. It is like the sun eclipsed. The sun eclipsed, or sun veiled behind clouds. So therefore the sun is not appearing. So once that which is veiling it goes away, the sun shines forth, and it is anyway shining forth. So moksha is a Nitya-Siddha condition. It is always there, but it is eclipsed by the cloud of adarshanam, cloud of avidya. So moksha is not something that is going to come about, it is already there, but like sun eclipsed or sun veiled behind the clouds, that is what is the case, condition here. Therefore moksham is not effect. Therefore in books of Adhyatma you come to know that Atma is Nitya-Shuddha Mukta, Nitya-Shuddha and Mukta. That is the nature of Atma. That's the nature of the self. So that is only coming about by factor which is covering it, veiling it, like the sun can be covered by eclipse. By moon coming in the way, the sun is veiled, or because of clouds, thick clouds, sun is veiled, the sun is ever in the sky. So moksha is Nitya-Siddha. Moksha is not something that is going to come about, but the moksha is Nitya-Siddha. This is what he clearly mentions. And in Patanjali's text we come across certain sutras which make this clear. In the Sadhanapad itself, Tasya hetuhu avidya. Tasya hetuhu avidya. Tadabhavat sanyoga bhavaha hanam. Tadrushehe Kaivalyam. So this is the position taken by Patanjali himself in 2.24 and 25. So tasya hetur avidya tadabhavat sanyoga bhavaha hanam tadrushehe Kaivalyam. So subtle inquiry tells us, or deeper inquiry tells us, that darshanam is what we call as jnanam, or in more popular term, moksha jnanam. And adarshanam is bandham. And in the various philosophical systems, we come across this position, and mention of moksha is, after all, every darshana's postulation. So Vyasa tells us here, darshanasya bhave bandhakaranasya adarshanasya nasha iti ataha darshanam jnanam kaivalya karanam uktam. That jnanam is said to be moksham. Like we are familiar with the mentioned jnanat eva tu kaivalyam. So Vyasa also is considerate about the concept of moksha that has come in various darshanas, and therefore he says that that is why jnanam is said to be kaivalya karanam, because bandha karanam would be going away. The cause of bondage goes away by jnanam. So that is the position. Now, question is that sometimes the inquiry bubbles into inquisitive mind, that what is this kaivalya, moksha, nirvana, which is postulated, which is mentioned in Adhyatma Shastra and Paramartha, spiritual sciences and philosophies. What is it? Nacha punaravartate, nacha punaravartate, itself, etc. The mention comes in Vedanta. That one doesn't come back. Yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama is what Bhagavad Gita tells us. So, one doesn't come back is moksham. But then many of the ignorant people think this way, that my existence here is so important. And if I am not going to come back, that means I am not going to have this existence. So, is it not self-annihilation? Because not being here, not being in this life, not being in this life condition, if you are not here, does it not mean self-extinction? And why at all one will cherish such a non-existent condition? So therefore, a common man out of ignorance argues that moksha is not something that should be sought after. Because we want to come to life, we want to experience life, we want to enjoy the life, we want to face the life. This is what one thing the life is. That coming into this mundane world and then having the mundane experience of pain, pleasure, delight, delusion, etc. So that only gives us that we are existing. We otherwise don't feel that we have our existence. And that is how a layman argues why seek liberation and why it is sought by those in the path of philosophy. So, that is not what a moksha is for a layman who has this ignorance about it and thinks that way. Moksham is Bandha bhavaha. Do you want to be in bandhanam? Do you want bondage? Do you want to be in slavery? Nobody wants to be in slavery. And that is what is being mentioned by moksha, that your slavery comes to an end. We are slaves to what? We are slaves to karma bhoga, Karmaphala Bhoga, karma. That is where we are slaves. And that ends, that is what the moksha is. That your bondage ends, your slavery ends. And because your slavery ends is also called liberation, it is called moksha. It is not self-extinction, as a layman would be thinking about it, that it is not to come into existence. And one thing that to be in such a gravity of mundanity itself is existence, and there is no existence apart from this, that we have a body, we have a mind, we have pain, pleasure, delusion, experiences, etc., life conditions, etc. So, that is not really the moksha. Moksha is end of bandha karanam, end of bandham, therefore. Bandha karanam ends, the cause of bondage ends, the bondage ends, and not to be in bondage itself is moksha. So, even those who are liberated do appear on this planet itself. They do appear on the planet and then go back. They can take birth according as per their will, if they want to take birth, or they may not take birth but still come into this world. They will come on their own accord and they will go back on their own accord. So the moksha is something to be understood like that. It is only absence of bandhanam. That is why I recall Tukaram saying at the point in time when he had his final journey, what is called as Vaikuntha Gamanam. He went to Vaikuntham. What he said was, Ami zato amcha gava, amcha rama rama gyava. So he says, I am going back to my abode, and therefore I bid goodbye to you all. I am going back to my abode. I am going back to my own place. So to be in Swarupam is moksham. So to be in Swarupam is what the moksham is, and then they can return back, in case they have come to mundane gravity, they can return back on their own will. As I told you about Tukaram making this expression, bidding goodbye to all those fellow people with whom he lived. So he said, I am returning to my abode. That's the Paramapada, that's the Nirvana. So it is not that you will not be able to come to this world. If you think coming to this world is so vital, you can come to this world, you will come back to this world, you will come on your own accord and you will go back on your own accord. Coming and going is in your hands, while it is not our case. We bounded one, but the jivas, it is not in our hand. When we will come into existence, when we will come into life form, and when we will depart from life form is not in our hands, while it is in their hands. So that's how the moksham should be understood. So many Vaikuntha jivas or Vaikuntha residents have come back and gone. This is the case of many of the saints who have come back to lift the mankind, and they have come in human manifestation, lived a human life and gone back on their own. So it's only end of bondage. We are bound to karma, therefore we do not know when we are going to take birth. and how long we are going to live, and when are we going to live, and after having left, when are we going to come back again. So that is in the hands of the karma. So we are all karma bandha. We are all bound by our own karmas. But in moksha, there is no such cause of bandham, such as called as karma, called vasana, called sanchita. There is no such thing. And that's why the moksha doesn't mean that you don't come back. You can come back. Like an emperor. Emperor is emperor sitting on the crown, but then he can come to children and play with his children and grandchildren for a while and get amusement and go back as an emperor. Go back to his court and again become the emperor. So that king has liberty when to take leave and spend some holidays and then have some amusement and go back to work. He is not bound. So similarly, mukta jivas are not bound. They can appear and they can go back. So this is also a point to be noted about moksha. So what is immediately preceding moksham is bandham. And that end of bandha itself is moksha. So moksha is not coming about of something. It doesn't come up. It is not an effect of something. It doesn't come about. It is end of something that is there. And what is ending? Bandham. The bondage, the bandham which is going to end, and that ending of the bandha itself, bandhanasha itself is moksham. This is what we have to understand. And the bandhanasha takes place by sanyoga bhavam, according to what we have seen in Patanjali's treatise. Samyoga bhavam. The samyoga bhavam, the absence of samyoga, conjunction will take place because of darshanam. And therefore, darshana is said to be Kaivalya karanam. So it is not like other causes, whereby something becomes a defect and defect is always impermanent. So therefore, jnanam is said to be Kaivalya karanam. Darshanam is said to be Kaivalya karanam. It doesn't mean that it is Kaivalya karanam. It doesn't need a cause. Moksham doesn't need a cause, it is always there. So, also then another thing from Vyasa's statement comes to surface is that tattva jnanam, ultimate jnanam, is not meaningless and purposeless. So therefore, Yoga Vartikar Vignan Bhikshu makes it clear, Tattva Jnanam Mokshe Prayojakam Atram Iti. So Moksha, Tattva Jnanam is Prayojakam. So otherwise one might say, what is the use of knowledge? Moksha has no cause. And we are told that jnanam is the cause of moksha. Then why make pursuit of at all? If that is not the cause of moksham, then why make pursuit of that? So therefore, that should not be the standpoint, or that should not be the stand taken by someone. So therefore, Vartikara makes it clear that tattva jnanam mokshe prayojakam atram iti. It is prayojakam. Anyway, now let's try to understand, which is, of course, Vyasa proceeds that way. then what really is adarshanam? What is ajnanam? What is avidya? So, in that respect, with regards to that, Bhashyakara says the following. He commences this inquiry this way. Kim cha idam adarshanam nama kim gunanam adhikara ahosvid drushirupasya swaminaha darshita vishayasya pradhana chittasya anuspadaha. So, he says now a question comes up therefore. Vyasa says that the question comes up. What is this adarshanam? Of course, this adarshanam is ajnanam. What is the meaning of this? Is it sattvadi gunanam adhikaraha? Is it gunadhikaram, satvarajatama gunas? Is it their empowerment over us? Is it that they are governing over us, gunas governing over us? So, because of which the karyarambham takes place. It is gunas which really set out the effects. Guna gunesha vartante iti bhattvana sajjate, etc., which Bhagavad Gita tells us that this is also guna vyaparam. So, with the gunadhikara, the adhikara to gunas, the empowerment to sattva-rajatama gunas, the karya is going on. The karya is of the nature of bandham. So, that the karya, the effects of gunas, is that really the bandham? The power to be creative of the gunas, power to be creative in the gunas itself, the samarthyam, the kshamata, the empowerment, the capacity to work of the gunas, is that adarshanam? What is adarshanam? Or one who is drushi, that is purusha, who is swami, to be subservient to swami by way of being swa, and then offering all experiences to the drushi, the atma, the purusha. Is that adarshanam? Or not no rising of viveka khyati, anutpadanam of viveka khyati, not coming about of discriminate discernment, viveka khyati itself. Is it adarshanam? So what really is adarshanam? And he puts forward various options. Now, Bhashyakara actually is presenting two options. Adarshanam means Prakriti Guna Vyapara Kshamata, the power of Prakriti to be really working in relation to that Purusha. The capability of gunas to continue to work. So that is one, that the gunas continue to keep working with regards to that particular Purusha. So that itself is adarshanam. The second is the buddhi which is darshita vishaya, which is in subserviency of the swami, the Purusha Tattva, and therefore offering shabda sparsha rupa rasagandhadi vishayas, objects. And therefore, as long as the gunas are offering Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa gunas, objects, the Viveka Khyati doesn't rise. So, the Viveka Khyati is not rising up. Swamin Drushye Vidyamane Yo Darshana Bhavaha. So that the gunas continue to be working by way of Darshita Vishaya. That is second Vikalpa. This is second alternative. Then comes to third alternative. Kim Arthavatta Gunanam. Is it Arthavatta of the gunas? Is it purposefulness of gunas? And we know there are two purposes, Bhogam, Apavargam. So, unaccomplished Purushartha, unaccomplished Bhogarthata and Purusharthata, Apavargarthata. That means the purpose not accomplished. Is that Adarshanam? So, that is the third option. That the purposefulness of the gunas still existing, the purpose not accomplished. And there are two purposes, Bhogarthata, Apavargarthata. They are not accomplished, therefore what is Bandham. What is Adarshanam. Is that the third Vikalpa? And then coming to the fourth, Atha Avidya Swachittena Sada Niruddha Swachittasya Utpattid Bijam. So what is the fourth Vikalpa, the fourth alternative position? It is like this. Is it that during Pralaya Kala, when the Chitta is gone back into Moola Prakriti, which is in Gunasamyavastha, which is in equilibrium, and when it comes back in Sarga Kala, and with onset of creation phase, it's coming back, it's coming away from, out of the Prakriti. Is that Adarshanam? So is that Avidya where responsibility is put on Moola Prakriti? Because in Pralaya Avastha we all will go to nominal condition for those 4,320 million years. And then with onset of creation, we will again come back. So, is that the Avidya? Is that the Adarshanam? So, this is another option that is taken on the anvil. Now, here we should notice that there are two kinds of Viparyaya in the form of the nescience. There is one is psychological nescience, that means we have our ignorance. And there is something which is cosmological nescience. Because we all come from that Prakriti Samyavastha with onset of creation. And so that is something macroscopic. So we have microscopic avidya, our own ignorance. Secondly, we also come from that source avidya, which is metapsychological and cosmological illusion, when there is onset of creation. And therefore Vyasa makes it clear here, Kim sthiti samskara kshaye gati samskara abhivyaktihi. Because pralayavastha means sthiti samskar. It is all static. For 4,320 million years, 432 crores of years, it is gunasamyavastha, deluge, nominal condition. So that is sthiti. And then creation phase means gati samskara. So whether this sthiti samskara disappearing and gati samskara appearing itself is adarshanam. So we know that we are having this cyclic condition of sarga and pralaya, sarga and pralaya, sarga and pralaya, like day and night cycle, day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night. There is sarga pralaya, sarga pralaya, sarga pralaya, sarga pralaya cycle. And in pralaya there is sthiti samskar, and in sarga there is gati samskar. And this is incessantly going on. The wheel is incessantly rotating. Now, ever-changing Prakriti has similar modifications during Pralaya and dissimilar modifications during Sarga. Because Prakriti is ever-changing, Satata Parinami. So a question can be asked then, where is the Parinama in deluge for those 4,320 million of years? Yes, it is very much there. But that is called Sadrusha Parinama. In Gunasamyavastha, as postulated by Sankhyas, which is the cause and which is the reason why there is Pralayavastha, Laya, it is because there is Sadrusha Parinama. Similar modifications are taking place in the Prakriti for that duration of time, which is 4,320 million years. And then there is Visadrusha Parinama during Sargavastha. When there is creative phase, then there are dissimilar modifications. So the intrinsic condition of Prakriti, that it is ever modifying, is kept intact. But we have two Parinamas, Sadrusha Parinama, Visadrusha Parinama. Similar modifications and dissimilar modifications. So in Sargavastha, then there will be modification Mahad Ahankaradi Vikar, and then Tanmatra, Mahapanchamaha Bhutas and Indriyas and etc. etc. So that is Visadrusha Parinam, that is dissimilar modification. Then there is Dharma Lakshanavastha Parinama during creative phase, creation phase. So the position here is dwindling away potency of cosmic rest during dissolution itself is cause of bondage for us. So is that really the cause? And Vyasa here quotes what a Purvacharya mentions. Yatra idam uktam. It has been said about this earlier. Pradhana sthiti eva vartamanam vikara akaranat apradhanam syad tatha gatyaiva vartamanam vikara nityatvat apradhana syat. So these are two samskars, gati samskar and sthiti samskars. And these have been postulated by Purvacharya of the Sankhya tradition. If the pradhana doesn't have this, then it is not pradhana at all. Primordial matter, pradhana tattvam. So if these two samskars are not there in that Moola Prakriti, primordial matter, it won't be pradhanam at all. So that is what the Purvacharya has said, who speaks about the Moola Prakriti, primordial matter. Now, if you say that the Prakriti only has Gati Samskars and there are always Mahadadi Vikaras, then those Vikaras would become Nityam. So you have to accept two Samskars in Moola Prakriti, the Prakriti, that there is Gati Samskar and Sthiti Samskar. So this should be definitely admitted in any material cause of the universe. You cannot have a material cause for this universe which doesn't have these two samskars. And that is the position which Vyasa has made it clear. You cannot take anything as a primordial cause of the universe without these samskars in it. You can call Prakriti as Moola Karanam, Brahma as a Moola Karanam, whatever might be the Moola Karanam, Anu Parmanu, atoms as the Moola Karanam, Anu Parmanu as the Moola Karanam. The basic primordial cause might be postulated in the form of maybe atoms and subatomic particles, etc., etc., or the Brahman itself as the material cause, which the Vedanta does, or Sankhyas who postulate Prakriti as the primordial cause, whatever is held to be the cause of the universe, because there will be difference of opinions about which is the material cause of the universe. Someone may say Brahman, someone may say Ishvara, someone might say Prakriti. Whatever is the material cause, it must have these two samskars. And the quotation that Vyasa brought in his commentary, which we just now took for consideration, there is also extended part of that Panchashika Vachanam. It is by Panchashikacharya. Ubhayatha cha asya pravrittihi pradhana vyavaharam labhate nanyatha karanantareshu api kalpiteshu eva esha samana charchaha. So yeah, what I just now said, whatever might be the material cause of the universe as posited by different philosophers, it must have these two samskars. Be that Sankhyas, be that Vedantins, be that the Karmavadis. So Ishvara Karanavada, Brahma Karanavada, Prakriti Karanavada, Anu Karanavada. So there are so many causes which are postulated, like Paramanu Karanavada, Ishvara Karanavada, Brahma Karanavada, Maya Karanavada, Guna Karanavada, Prakriti Karanavada. That is, these two must be admitted there. Anyway, now going to the sixth Vikalpa, which Vyasa has postulated here. Darshana Shakti eva adarshanam iti eke. So the sixth point of view is Darshana Shakti, which is Buddhi. That itself is Adarshana Karanam. And Bhashyakara in 2.6 has used this concept of Darshana Shakti, Buddhi Darshana Shakti. And for this substantiation of this stand, Vyasa has quoted a Shruti which is extinct or not available today. He says, Pradhanasya atmakyapanartha pravrutti iti shrutehe. The Shruti has said, is what Vyasa tells us. Pradhanasya atmakyapanartha pravrutti iti eke. Some opine that the very pravrutti of Prakriti, very nature of Prakriti is for Atmakyapanartha, is to give the self-realization. This is what the Shruti is telling us. And of course, this Shruti is not available now. And with reference to this quotation from scriptures, Vyasa says, Sarvabodhya bodha samarthaha prak pravrutte purusho na pashyati sarvakarya karana samartham drishyam tada na drishyate iti arthaha. What does he say? He says, although Sarvabodhya Samarthyam, which is with Purusha Tattva, the consciousness, principle of consciousness. The principle consciousness has that potential to be knowing everything. Sarvabodhya, that Samarthyam is in Purusha. But although he has that Samarthyam, although he has innate and intrinsic power, unless the Prakriti has this pravrutti, unless Prakriti plays a kind of relevant activity, there is no self-realization to self. The self has potentials to be self-realizing, but unless the Prakriti plays its role, it doesn't get actualized. So as long as Prakriti doesn't play its role of apavarga dayakatvam, it doesn't take place. So this is what that Shruti which Vyasa quoted is telling us. Now comes to seventh point of view, standpoint. Ubhayasya api adarshanam dharmam iti eke. So, the both Prakriti and Purusha both have some adarshanam. So, as long as there is adarshanam in both, that itself is avidya. Like in Chitchayapatti that we saw, the reflection theories that we took up, the Purusha also is can be accused of having some illusion. The Prakriti Buddhi has some illusion. It thinks this is me, and Purusha thinks this is me. So there is a bilateral kind of imposition. So Prakriti Nishtha Adarshanam and Purusha Nishtha Adarshanam. And all the Purusha is Asanga, Purusha is untouched by anything. Pradhana Pravrutti is so important for the self-realization of the Purusha. Because the Prakriti should accomplish its purpose of giving apavargam, then only Purusha has apavargam, and then the Purusha is in his own pristine essential form or nature, which won't be proper to use such predications here. But to understand this, I am using this. The point is, there is Prakriti-nishtha adarshanam and Purusha-nishtha adarshanam. Purusha-nishtha adarshanam goes away by going away of Prakriti-nishtha adarshanam, by it giving Viveka Khyati, because Viveka Khyati is given by Prakriti, and when that is given, Purusha gets the Viveka Khyati, and then the adarshanam goes away. So about this Vikalpa, Vyasa says, Tatra idam drishyasya swatma bhutam abhi purusha pratyapeksham darshanam drishya dharmatvena bhavati. So this is ubhaya vidha. by both sides, Adarshanam is there. So Buddhi has Svatma Bhuta Swarupam, and the Purusha has his own essential state that is realized or revealed. And that is why Patanjali in one of the sutras later has said, Sattva Purushayoho Shuddhi Samye Kaivalyam. So in Patanjala system, both Prakriti also has a liberation and Purusha also is liberation, is what the critical observers mention. Because the Buddhi is sevaka, is subservient, so its subserviency ends when Purusha is emancipated. So the Prakriti is also emancipated and Purusha is also emancipated. It seems to be the stand of the Patanjalas. So that's an interesting position that we arrive at. That the sevakatvam is gone, that is subserviency is gone, that means slavery is gone to Prakriti. The Prakriti is also liberated. And not only that Purusha is liberated, the Prakriti, microcosmic Prakriti is also liberated. So, therefore he says, Tatha Purushasya Anatma Bhutam api drushya pratyapeksham Purusha dharmatvena iva adarshanam avabhasate. Because the Purusha gets all experience depending upon the buddhi, its own buddhi, the swam. So it is also dependent on the swam for bhoga. And then, therefore, the liberation is bilateral on both the sides. Now comes the last and eighth vikalpa. Darshanam jnanam eva adarshanam iti kechit abhidadhati iti ete shastragata vikalpaha. So some say that Vishayas appearing to the mind, Vishayas appearing to the chitta itself is adarshanam. So these are the various vikalpas which Vyasa has postulated in his course of commentary. Now, we will be taking once again resume of these 8 vikalpas so that they become clear, but we will do that in our next session. Enough for the time being. Namaskar all of you.